Hey, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I wanted to show you my new minimalistic setup here that I have in the studio. I recently got the Mac Mini M1 from 2020 to use for Final Cut Pro, video editing and stuff like that. And I didn't get the Mac Studio. And in this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about that, why I use this thing and not the Mac Studio. So let's just get right into it.
Never gonna look back, 'cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change, slowly take a step today. I will never be the same, 'cause that's what it takes.
So it's been a while, I know. For those of you who are new, my name is Tom, and this channel is all about cameras and lenses. So if you're into that, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. And for the rest of you, you know I've been away for a few weeks now, and the reason is because I've been working really hard to sort of optimize my working space. As I mentioned before, I recently got the Mac Mini M1, and I just wanted to show you my new setup here. I used to have like a much bigger desktop computer. For people who have followed me on other channels in the past, you know that I used to rock this beast of a computer that I actually used to call the Blue Beast. And for the last 2 years, I've been using a MacBook Pro 16-inch for video editing. But recently, I've decided to sort of split up my computer use here at home. I work from home, and basically for video editing, I want to use a desktop computer where I have all of my project files and stuff like that. And my MacBook Pro, I want to use it mostly for just browsing the web and stuff like that. So I don't want to have my work stuff on my MacBook. I want to have all my work stuff on the Mac Mini M1. So I've been testing it out for a couple of weeks, and I gotta say I was very pleasantly surprised how well it handled video editing, at least my video editing needs. And I was sort of thinking I was gonna test it out, and if I'm not happy with the performance, I would return it, get something like a Mac Studio, maybe the M1 Ultra or something like that. But honestly, I just feel like the Mac Mini M1 just works fine. And I sort of feel like you get a lot of value for the money you spend on it. So as far as the computer is concerned, the Mac Mini is a wonderful piece of technology that I highly recommend, especially for video editing, especially if you're using Final Cut Pro. It just works great. Now you might have noticed that I'm not using the docking station that I talked about in my previous video. It's this thing right here. So basically the idea is that you put your Mac Mini on it, and you got your SD card slot, micro SD, some USB-C ports, and you just basically connect it. And the idea was brilliant, right? Like I thought, how can you go wrong with this thing? And what really sold me is in the back here, you could actually put in an M2 SSD, right? And basically use this docking station as an extension of your Mac Mini. Unfortunately, I've discovered that this thing, the Satechi docking station, is not a very good product for a couple of reasons. So first of all, the SD card slots, great that you have them in front, but the problem is they're not very fast. In fact, they're really slow, which surprises me because I actually do use a Satechi SD and micro SD card reader, and this one is actually very fast. If you have really fast SD cards, this is a great thing to use. But this thing, like, it was just really slow, and I just didn't like it. And it's the same thing with the USB-C. It's not very fast. You connect some hard drives, like for example the Samsung T7, and you just get horrible speeds, like half of what you would get if you just plug it into the USB-C on that thing, which is probably a Thunderbolt thing, but I still think, like, what a shame that you can't use this and get the full speed that you want. So I could use that. Now, when it comes to this thing, the M2 slot, what a fantastic idea, right? Well, unfortunately, this does not support NVMe cards, which means that I actually got myself something like a 4TB M2 NVMe card, and it just did not work. I would have to get like an older model for it to work. Now I have been looking around for other docking stations like this one, and I think I found one, but I'm gonna read up a bit more before I purchase it, and I'm gonna test it out because I think that this is a fantastic idea, right? But right now I'm not gonna use this thing. Okay, let's talk about keyboards. Now, I love this thing. This is the Logitech K380, and I've been using it for a couple of years now. It's a phenomenal keyboard. I made some videos about it, and it just works great for your workflow. It's small, it's minimalistic, pretty decent battery life as far as wireless keyboards are concerned. But unfortunately, it's not Mac buttons. So there's a couple of buttons that you have to sort of reprogram and stuff like that. And I just felt like really lazy, and I was like, nah, I'll just get myself a Magic Keyboard. I got this thing. Now, this thing just works great. It's phenomenal. Battery life is awesome on this thing. Like the buttons, I sort of wish there was a more like a space gray version of this thing, especially the keys. The buttons are so white. I would like to have these in black instead. But function is the most important aspect of a keyboard, and that aspect just works great. Now, when we're talking about my solutions, I'm still using the Logitech MX Anywhere. I think that's what it's called. It's a very minimalistic, tiny mouse, and I really enjoy using it. I did get the Magic Mouse because it does have a couple of cool features where you can just sort of swipe, and there's a bit of a multi-touch function on this mouse, but I just didn't think it was very accurate to use. Like, you need to have like a mouse pad for it to work. As you can see, my desktop is pretty clean. I don't want to have to use a mouse pad, you know. This thing should be enough, you know, but unfortunately, with the Magic Mouse, you need to have some soft surface underneath it or something. I don't know. I just didn't like using it. It wasn't very ergonomic. Basically a waste of money, unfortunately. I also got the Magic Trackpad, and this thing I really do like using. It's basically just as good as the trackpad on the MacBook, which I've used for the last 10 years or so. And sometimes when I do video editing, I actually put it next to my mouse and keyboard, and I sort of have a setup where I use all of these three things at once. It works actually very well. But again, I wish I would have gotten the space gray version. It just cost like twice the money, and I just didn't think it was worth it just because this one was white and the other one was black. But I don't know, maybe I'll do an upgrade later this year. But for now, it really works. Now, I also want to mention the speakers. Now, these speakers, these are Mackeys C4s or something like that. I've been using them for many years, like 6 or 7 years now. Audio quality is really good, especially when you're doing video editing. Unfortunately, I'm just tired of the size. They're so big and I don't really need to have that much volume, but they just sound so clean when I'm video editing, so I just really enjoy using these still. So they're still part of my minimalistic desktop setup. Now, I was thinking about getting something maybe like a HomePod or something like that, something like a really tiny audio speaker to have a sort of more clean look on the desk, but I don't know if the audio quality is that good on those things. Speaking of the monitor, this is an LG IPS 4K display. It's only 27 inches. I am thinking about upgrading it to at least 32 inches. But yeah, this is my setup. Okay, that's all I have for today. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.
Let's go. Yeah. I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it, fuse like a magnet. Lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind. If you work 8 hours, I'ma work 9. If the shit tastes sour, you should taste mine. I'ma stay in power for